Hello and welcome back. My name is Sean Gibson. Today we're going to be talking about another council, and today we're going to talk about the First Ecumenical Council of Constantinople from AD 381. In my last presentation, I talked about the Ecumenical Council of Nicaea in 325, in which we established that Jesus is divine, and in fact, we established the Son is co-eternal, co-equal, and of the same substance of the Father. And through that, we developed the Nicene Creed, well, the first version of the Nicene Creed. And so in about AD 360, as we call it, the Nicene Christianity or the Trinitarian Christianity was starting to lose ground again. And as was Arianism, believe it or not, Arianism was starting to kind of whittle away, but there were some up and coming heresies at the time that were gaining a lot of ground. One of them was Docetism, which basically said is God is really God and he only appeared human. So Christ was really God. He just looked human to everyone else. And there was also one called Pneumatimarchy. And the Pneumatimarchy basically said there was no Trinity. It said the Holy Spirit was not part of the Trinity and there was no Trinity and was not part of the Godhead. As I said, both these heresies were growing. There were also some other issues going on in the church within Constantinople. There was a lot of fracture. There was bishops being ordained in the dark of night to overthrow other bishops. And so at this point in 381, Emperor Theodosius convened the First Ecumenical Council of Constantinople. It was only designed to address issues within the Church of Constantinople. So there was only about 150 bishops actually in attendance, and they were mostly from the Eastern Church. The council itself had two goals. One was to address those internal issues that we just discussed, and two, to resolve the heresies. So interestingly enough, there were no papers that survived from that council. What we do know is what they wanted to discuss and what was resolved. And that was done through conversations because this had been communicated to Rome. So we had that, we just didn't have the discussions. Some of the canons that were addressed during this council was one, the Nicene Creed was upheld and actually added to address some of the heresies and to expand. There was also a canon that says a bishop cannot intrude in churches beyond their boundaries. They cannot they cannot do ordinations without special permission. They certainly can't do ordinations in the dead of night, even within their own diocese. So there was a lot more restrictions on what a bishop can and can't do, especially outside the boundaries that they work in. Also, there was an avenue given for non-Nicenes, non-Trinitarian Christians of a way to return to the church. And this involved basically a mini RCIA where they would have time in prayer, reading scriptures, be catechumens, and then, believe it or not, they would be breathed on 3 times by the bishop, 3 times in the face and 3 times into the ears, and then they would be baptized, and at that point they would be allowed back into the church. As we talked about, the Nicene Creed, or the Nicene Constantinople Creed, was grown, and in fact, in such a way, within 50 years, it was disseminated across the kingdom or the empire, and most churches at that point had already ratified and adopted this new Nicene Constantinople Creed. In essence, there were some changes added in Constantinople. Essentially, the parts about God and Jesus didn't really change. There was a little added about the sacrifice of Christ, but there was more added about Blessed Mother, and also the role of the Holy Spirit being part of the Godhead. Before it just said we believe in the Holy Spirit. Now we talk he's sent through the Father and the Son, and he speaks through the prophets. We bring him up to the level of the remaining the other 2 members of the Trinity. So a lot of that was ratified, put in through Constantinople, and as I said, disseminated throughout Christianity at that point. That is a quick summary on the First Ecumenical Council of Constantinople in 381 AD. I hope you learned something as I did as putting this together. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.